Society of the Busted Limes podcast. I'm your host, Paresh Maharaj, and Black Belt, the poor boy, he is just so busy that he will not be joining us today because he was not able to watch the subject of our discussion today, and I just do not want him to be spoiled. But instead, I have a returning guest. JD's back. Back again.
JD's back. Tell a friend. I'm also here with Smoke. You're going to hear her throughout this episode because she is just being very vocal tonight.
We are very pro-kitten here on Busted Limes, so that is not a problem. But, speaking of our subject of our discussion today, we are here to discuss what is JD's favorite movie of the year so far, even though we only have 2 months left. Yeah, JD is showing off his Blu-ray copy like the just film buff that he is. Actually, I think at this point, I think film buff is an understatement for JD, because I'm looking at his shelf right now. It's just like it could reach China at this point.
It probably could. Look, when you are a human being who decides it's a good idea, I'm going to go buy the Shout Factory Blu-rays of The Howling and Dog Soldiers just because, that's just the way it works. Also, Arrow Video Blu-ray of Legend, I'm coming for you at some point. You know I am. Look, okay, so speaking of Ridley Scott, I'll have to get this out. I want to get this out of the way because this past weekend I finally saw. I went and saw The Last Duel, the latest Ridley Scott movie, until House of Gucci comes out next month.
Oh god! So how was Last Duel?
Holy fuck! That movie was amazing.
Did it make you cry?
It could have. It very well could have if I wasn't just like shocked at how amazing the movie was, and also shocked at how it was told. The way the story was told was insane. I highly recommend, and like for anyone even remotely interested in the story of The Last Duel, I highly recommend you don't look up what happened, like the end result of the story. It will make the movie so much better for you.
Oh,
why are you being so vocal tonight? Jeez.
I think it's probably me. I tend to have that effect on kittens. Just ask my friends.
Come here, baby.
But we are currently not here to talk about The Last Duel. We are here to talk about David Lowery's The Green Knight.
Yes, we are.
Starring the one and only Dev Patel.
Dev Patel!
The man who was supposed to have his summer back in 2020. With the release of this movie, and I think it was that David Copperfield adaptation where he plays David Copperfield.
I think it's The Life and Times of David Copperfield, Armando Iannucci's David Copperfield movie.
A movie that I haven't seen, but it seems like it's the polar opposite of this movie here, The Green Knight.
Yeah, it looks like he's having a lot better time making that movie.
Yeah, because I don't know. For this movie, there is that little backstage the photo of him holding that gigantic, anatomically correct heart, which, side note, there's no indication of what that is in this movie, to my knowledge. Like, I don't see that heart show up anywhere at any time.
I'm blanking on what you're even talking about, and I just watched this last night.
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. That's my point. It's just like there is a set photo of Dev Patel holding a giant anatomically correct heart, and from his outfit, it looks like he's on the set of The Green Knight. But there is no scene in The Green Knight where there is a disembodied heart anywhere.
Most likely, it was taken out because, and we'll get into the editing of this movie because this I guess we could. I mean, how do we want to discuss this movie? Because there's a lot of routes we can take.
Okay, so yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah. First, we'll just start with let's start with whether or not we're even familiar with the poem that this is based on. Because let me tell you,
I am not.
Yeah, neither am I, which is why I'm actually going to shout out another podcast. It's called Daisy Geek Girls. They actually brought on a scholar who studied the poem to discuss this movie with. It is one of my favorite podcast episodes ever, and I highly recommend it. So, yeah, check out that. The name of the podcast is Daisy Geek Girls. For anyone who wants to get a more in-depth analysis of this movie than either of us can give.
Yeah, and also I want to shout out something that I will go ahead and say I have not watched this, but I'm meaning to. There's a half-hour video essay on YouTube from Kaz Rowe called "A Look at Queerness in Sir Gawain and the Green Knight," which I will be watching at some point because because just from the title of that alone, I'm curious. I'm always curious for queer readings of pieces.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We are, I mean, as imperfect as my intro is, you hear it every episode, Kings, Queens, those in between. We are all about queer readings here on Busted Limes. But yeah, so, coming into this with I did glance at the Wikipedia page for the poem, and all I really knew going in was that it involves Sir Gawain, in his hubris, trying to fulfill his end of the bargain. Of a bargain.
A Christmas game. The Green Knight is officially a Christmas movie.
It really is. Yeah, and not even like the try-hardy comedic way that Die Hard is. It's
Okay, look, Die Hard didn't try to be a Christmas movie. It just kind of happened to become a Christmas classic.
Yeah, that's true. I should probably rephrase that. It was just like not in the overdone overexposed meme kind of way that Die Hard ended up being. Because honestly, it's not Die Hard's fault that its fans are just repeat the same joke over and over again until it gets grounded to dust into the ground.
Is it the best Christmas movie? It's pretty close.
Yeah.
I can tell your enthusiasm for that statement is wild.
Just kidding.
Look, yeah, it's been said to death. But guess what? It's kind of true. It's just like The Shawshank Redemption is one of the greatest movies of all time. Yeah, it's a tired statement, but when you rewatch that movie, you're like, oh shit, this is one of the greatest movies ever made.
It really is. Yeah. But yeah, back to the Green Knight. Yeah, all I knew about this going into it was that it involves Sir Gawain. It's something got to do with Arthurian legend. Mm-hmm. And that's basically it. Because honestly, my biggest drawing point to this was just seeing someone who looks like me, a brown dude, Dev Patel, taking the lead in what looks like, and I'm just going to go ahead and get into my first impressions from the trailer, what looked like a trippy, slow burn. And that's not the kind of role that you see brown people or brown actors get in Hollywood. I mean, I could see that tide is changing with Kumail Nanjiani doing his thing in the Eternals, and yeah, that's all fine and good, but I honestly kind of prefer the representation here, but I'll get into that later on in the episode. JD, what were your overall thoughts about the movie going into it?
So, like, my initial thoughts, like, before going in to see it?
Yeah, just like Comic Quest, before and after seeing it.
So, prior to go seeing it, so this is a movie that had been on my radar for a while, because I was familiar with the films of David Lowery prior to this movie, because although I had not seen any, I want to say that I didn't see any of his other movies until after seeing The Green Knight. But I was familiar with the movies that he had made, because I think the first time I heard about any of his movies, or like any of his movies that I knew he made, was back in 2017 with A Ghost Story, because that got huge praise from critics and audience, and not so much from audiences because it's a weird movie. Mm-hmm.
You don't say.
Yeah, I mean, the whole conceit is a freaking bedsheet as a ghost. It's amazing that it actually works, because they put a lot of thought and time into how that bedsheet was going to be used. So there was that, and then the next year he had The Old Man and the Gun, which was, like, marketed as the final film of Robert Redford, which, since he shot his scenes for Endgame before he shot The Old Man and the Gun, technically The Old Man and the Gun is his final movie, because he retired after doing that. And good for him, because the dude is, like, in his mid-70s.
Yeah, and he's a goddamn legend, so he can do whatever he wants.
Abso-fucking-lutely. So The Green Knight had been on my radar because I just didn't know what the hell it was. I did not know the poem. I still don't know that much about Arthurian legend. And then I remember, I think it was either like late 2019 or sometime in 2020. There was that initial teaser of just, snippets of scenes for like a minute, that dropped. And when I was seeing all this, I was just immediately intrigued because I was just like, I don't know what the fuck this is. I have to see it. Then the official trailer dropped, and I was thinking, oh yeah, this is a movie I have to see as soon as it comes out, whenever I can. And that's exactly what I did. The week it came out, or like the Sunday prior to that weekend, so the beginning of that week, right. My best friend Robbie, he returned home after leaving the Marines after 4 years. Which good for him because the Marines fucked him. He hated it. And Robbie, I love you. You're the absolute best, and you're a goddamn legend. So we saw each other on Thursday for the first time in over 2 years. And that day we just hung out, and that day we were like, he's like, hey, this weekend we're going to see The Green Knight. And I was like, fuck yeah, we are. So Saturday night, before I have to go to work, because I work night shifts now, we go out and see The Green Knight. And I remember walking out of that movie, and Robbie and I looked at each other, and we just like, did we just see the best movie of the year? I think we're just. I literally said the sentence, I don't think we need to make any in movies anymore. Like, we just kind of hit our peak. I think we're good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Granted, then we saw The Last Duel this past weekend, and we're like, fuck, no, we need to keep making more movies.
Yeah.
Because that was awesome. I love the fact that my two favorite movies of this year so far both take place essentially like during the Middle Ages.
Yeah, medieval Europe, yeah.
Yeah, it's I was like, one is based on the Arthurian legend, and another takes place a few years before the Crusades. I want to know what is up with Ridley Scott and making movies during that time, because like he had Gladiator, and now he has The Last Duel, and then The Last Duel takes place a few years during the Crusades, which he also has Kingdom of Heaven, which takes place during the Crusades.
Oh yeah. I was just about to ask, like, what is the? I know there's another one that he did, and it was
the movie that was originally like nearly 3.5 hours, and it got cut down to 2.5.
Yeah, it's one of those poster childs for like the pro director's cut movement because of how much better the director's cut is than the original.
Usually, yeah, because usually I am someone who I'm sometimes I'm not so sure about a director's cut. It really just depends on the filmmaker. Like,
yeah, exactly.
When Mike Flanagan announced that he had opposed to his 2.5-hour theatrical cut of Dr. Sleep, there was a 3-hour cut, and I'm like, I kind of want to see the 3-hour cut, and I did, and that movie rips hard. But Ridley Scott, I think, is like one director where I'm like, no, I like when he puts out a director's cut, I want to see it. I think, not an extended version, because there are like extended editions of like American Gangster and The Martian, and he has come out and say like, no, those don't really count. That was just adding footage back into it that I had cut out for a reason.
Oh, okay.
Because The Martian is a great movie all on its own, and I have seen that extended edition, and yeah, it doesn't need that extra 10 minutes. It was great. It was great already.
Yeah. I can't imagine that movie being 10 minutes longer.
Yeah, it's weird. I still have my DVD of the extended edition, and I'm like, it doesn't need to be an extra 10 minutes. It's great. It was great already.
So you absolutely love this movie then?
I really fucking love this movie. I did more research for the on the influences on this movie and the filmmaking process of this movie more so than most, and that kind of speaks to how much I love this movie. Like when I truly love a movie, I want to know everything about it. I want to know about the filmmaking process. I want to know about the influences. I want to hear the people who made it talk about it. I want to hear people who love it talk about it.
And hey, now we are the two people who love it, and we get to talk about it.
Yes, I know. I'm so excited.
Funny how that works. All right. So, shifting gears to Mulan now. But yeah, going into this, like I said, that for that first teaser, I really didn't know what to expect, other than that it was going to be trippy, and I was like, it just looked like a slow burn. But then
Yeah.
when the full trailer came out and the R rating was revealed for graphic nudity, I'm just like, oh, so it's gonna be slow paced, weirdly trippy, and horny as fuck.
And guess what? It ticked all those boxes.
And honestly, if I had to sum up the movie, it would be those little snippets. Trippy, slow burn, weirdly horny. Because normally I have to go to Bollywood to see a movie that loves a brown lead this as much as the camera loves Dev Patel.
He is so lovingly light and well lit in this movie.
Exactly, yeah. And anyone who tells you that, oh well, who thinks that you don't need different filming techniques to film different skin tones, get the fuck out of here.
Oh, absolutely. Weird comparison, but I watch. I've been recently getting back into watching Smosh on YouTube, and they've talked about how, back in the early days when they expanded the cast of Smosh, one of the cast members, Keith Lee Jr. is black, and they talked about how in the early days of shooting with him, just the regular vlogs, not even the skits, just like the vlogging that they did as a cast, as a team, they were still trying to figure out how to light him well, just because they were not well equipped at that time, because they had mostly been shooting white people. So they had to looking at the early days of the cast vlogging, and then looking at their stuff now, it's so different because they figured it all out.
That's good.
Yeah.
Also, Smosh still exists?
Smosh still exists. It's been like 12 years, I think.
That is the most surprising YouTube related news I've heard ever since ASDF Movies is still going. But yeah, going back to
let's go back to this movie.
Yeah, talking about how lovingly filmed Dev Patel is actually a good segue to let's go into the specific aspects of this movie that we liked, and I will start with the cinematography.
Yes.
Holy shit, is this movie beautifully shot. Not just Dev Patel, but everything in this movie is beautifully shot.
We should be bowing at the feet of Andrew Jaws Palermo.
Andrew, say his name one more time, just like
Andrew.
Say it slowly.
So his I believe his middle name is pronounced Draws. It's Droz. So it's Andrew Draws Palermo, who also shot a ghost story, and before all that, shot a little movie I love called You're Next.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he also shot The Guest, since that was the same director, which I'm going to look up to see if I'm right. I really hope I am, and I am not. But shout out to Robbie Baumgartner for shooting The Guest.
The thing is, though, about this movie is that there's only really like one quote-unquote epic shot in the whole movie, and I think it's just the one with the giants.
I don't know. I think there's there are quite a few epic shots in this movie. In fact, following the giant scene, I have to give it up for that one shot where they turn the camera upside down 180 degrees, as if they're like doing a massive. It's a massive wide shot of Dev Patel walking with the fox, after following that scene, and then just it starts closing, doing a massive close up on him, and then just as it's closing in on him, it does a massive 180, and then goes over his head, and then cuts to the next scene. I think that's a pretty epic shot, I gotta say.
Okay, so I guess what it is that it's just my definition of epic is I think what most people think when they hear epic shot, what I mean by epic shots is just, well, all I need to say is the shots of New Zealand in Lord of the Rings. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about when I say epic, because this movie, it's very, let's get into the plot now for a little bit, because it's kind of small stakes, really. It's really just Sir Gawain's problem for him to ride out into the middle of the forest just so he could fulfill his end of the game, which, you know what, let's get into the specifics about what that game is. So the way this movie starts, it opens in a goddamn brothel, where with Dev Patel playing Sir Gawain. He wakes up from a specific sex worker's bed, and I am blanking on her name because I'm just continuing the tradition from Comics Quest of blanking on names, but it turns out that he's actually in a serious relationship with this girl. And
it seems that way. I don't think they ever state it specifically, but it definitely seems that way.
Shit, that's right. I know what scene you're talking about.
Her name is Essel.
Essel, yes.
Played by the wonderful Alicia Vikander.
Alicia Vikander.
Love her. Also, all the love in the world to her and Michael Fassbender. The two of them, they're one of the cutest fucking couples in the world.
Aw, that's good to hear. But yeah, and that's just another thing that I want to get into, because again, this is not something that this is not the kind of role that you see brown actors being casted unless the name of the movie has Harold and Kumar in it. This guy, it tells you right off the bat that this dude is, although this is an Arthurian legend, we're going with the dirtiest version of Arthurian legend.
And that's the thing is that, like, this Sir Gawain is actually very different from the traditional Gawain, as I found out, because we've already we both said that that we don't know the poem, but but because I'm a weirdo, I have watched everything I can with David Lowery talking about this movie, and something he's mentioned is that even though he, like, fundamentally he did not really change the text that much, something he did change considerably was Gawain as a character, because in the original poem, he is actually in the original poem, he's already a knight. He is, and he has fought alongside King Arthur, who in the movie is never mentioned as King Arthur. He's just the king.
That's
which I love.
But I think the audience is just able to fill in the blanks, because
we know who Arthur is, we know who Guinevere is. We don't need to say their names. It's the king and queen. So, but in the original text, Gawain was like the most honorable of knights, and he did he did nothing wrong, and he always did everything he could to help people. But Lowery thought, well, that doesn't, it's like that can get boring. So I was like, I want to go a different route and make it, and instead change him to being someone who is not yet a knight and is a human being and can be fallible and can, do and unfortunately do or say the wrong thing, while also still having a kind heart, because he is someone who seeks honor, not for selfish reasons, but more just because he has been raised to believe that honor is tied to a sense of goodness and a sense of selflessness. And, again, he is also a human being, therefore he can be fallible. And he felt that was the best way to, that was the best route to go. And after writing that, he is like, and I want Dev Patel to play him.
Yes. And to get into that fallibility, we get that in doses in this opening scene, because what's the first thing he does when he gets home from the brothel? He disrespects his mother. Which, honestly, relatable.
I mean, really, all he does, he just kind of lies about where he's been. But she knows, but she gets it. He's like, "Oh, been at mass. You been at mass all night?" And then he gives her a kiss, like you do to your mother. You kiss your mama. That's what you do. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I can smell that you've been at mass." Like, did you drink all the sacrament? And he's like, "I love you, Mom." So, and like, that's like, it's a certain kind of fallibility where it's like, he will lie, and he will, be, he will be kind of rebellious, but he still has a kind heart.
Exactly. Although he does kind of have to learn that, because later on in the movie, where he meets the king and the queen, they explain to him what what makes a hero and how he could become one. So, what is the quote that they say? You're sitting among legends or something like that.
Oh, yeah. He says look Guinevere, the queen says, like when you look around you, what do you see? And he says, I see legends. And the queen tells him, don't take that idly. Like he's like basically saying like the fact that you are among us, the fact that you are here sitting with us, don't take that lightly. Like there's a reason you're here. The reason you're here is because that one day maybe you can be like them. It's like we know that you and the king even asks him, because another big change that Lowery made was he made Morgan Le Fay Gawain's mother. Which is not in the like Morgan Le Fay in the original text is not in any way related to Arthur, but in this movie, Lowery makes Morgan Le Fay Arthur's sister, so in turn makes Gawain his mother, and something that was already, I believe, was already established in the original text. Gawain is King Arthur's nephew. So it is Christmas morning. He goes to spend the day with the king and queen. He is asked to sit beside the king and queen because his mother is not there, and and then it turns out there's a reason why his mother is not there. It's because she summons the titular character.
Yep, the Green Knight. And JD, don't be shy. What's your nickname for him?
What is my nickname for him?
Tree Daddy.
Oh. Did I ever say this?
I mean, maybe not out loud, but in text in the Discord. You said you have to go be Tree
You can
Daddy.
read it on my face. It's like I just want to call him Tree Daddy. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Because it is Ralph. I believe his last name is pronounced Ineson. Ralph Ineson. I love Patrick Willems' review of this movie, which is from this point on, it is law that every A24 movie must star the parents from The Witch. Because this one does.
Shit.
You got Ralph Ineson there as the Green Knight, and you've got Kate Dickie as the Queen. Also, Sean Harris as King Arthur. I mean, how fucking perfect is that casting?
Absolutely perfect. Like, cause
casting in this movie is incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to the actor who plays Morgan Le Fay. I believe her name is pronounced Sarita Chowdhury.
Sarita Chowdhury.
Chowdhury. Yeah. I love her. She's great.
Yes.
The casting of the movie, perfect. No notes. I love it.
But so now we get into the reasons why Tree Daddy is here, because it's like you said. Morgan Le Fay is summoning the Green Knight into the courthouse, and he has a game for
a Christmas game.
Yeah, a Christmas game. But he extends it's a general invitation though, isn't it? Like he doesn't specifically call out Sir Gawain.
No, it is. He says anyone who, basically anyone who feels that they are up to the challenge of coming against me in combat, feel free to come forward. And also like he brings a branch of holly as like showing that like he's like this is Christmas, so this is traditional, but also kind of like
I come in peace.
Yeah, basically. And Gawain decides, because so earlier in that scene, Gawain, the king asks him, on this Christmas day, your gift to me could be, tell me a story of you. And Gawain says, I don't have any, because I just haven't lived my life yet. I haven't lived my life yet. And it's the queen who says, yet you don't have any stories yet, because you still could. And that's when that's what leads to that exchange of, when you look around, who do you see? I see legends. And that's why Gawain decides, he's like, you know what? This will be this could be my this could be my first story.
This is my moment.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when he because everyone kind of looks around like, all right, who wants to challenge this 7-foot tall tree dude? and that's when Gawain stands up and he's like, I'll do it. Literally, he just says that. He's like, I'll do it. And he gets to hold motherfucking Excalibur.
Which Good. Don't.
That's so dope. I'm like, I am seeing motherfucking Dev Patel wielding Excalibur. This is so cool.
Okay. By the way, Black Belt, I know you're listening to this. If my next D&D character resembles Dave Patel, no, he doesn't.
I mean, look, you pull inspiration from things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
In the game, essentially, so for those of you, the game essentially is, the Green Knight will be challenged by someone in the court, and the person must deliver a blow, and then 1 year hence, so basically Christmas Day the next year, they must come to find him in the Green Chapel, and the Green Knight will in turn deliver the blow back. So Gawain stands up, says, "I'll do it," is handed Excalibur by the king, and cuts the Green Knight's head off.
Which, let's talk about the scene for that.
And he does, and also, like, the Green Knight does it willingly. Like, he gets, like, he sets his giant fucking axe down, which that axe is amazing. Just sets that down on the floor. Grass, like, starts to grow out of the floor around it, which is such a cool visual.
Oh my god.
And bends his head down to let Gawain do it. And Gawain, like, is, like, trying to, like, challenge him. He's like, make your move. Make your move. All right, you forfeit your move. I'm going to do it. And he does it. And then we get that great moment of, like, just him picking up the head, and the Green Knight picking up his own head, going, 1 year hence. And then it turns into fucking headless horseman shit. He gets on the horse rears up on his hind legs, and you get this evil fucking laugh. And as he's riding out of the court, it's so good.
Yeah, and it's just like one of those things where where the people who are just encouraging him to go out and create his own legend, they just look at him just like, "Oh, dude, you fucked up."
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
Basically, what they had did is that they started a game of Rochambeau. Kick me in the nuts, I'll kick you in the nuts.
Again, you're not wrong.
So then, again, so then we, like, fast forward. We don't see exactly what Gawain does for the year to prepare for his little quest, but what we do see is, again, another beautifully, side note, I'm just going to say, every shot that we talk about in this movie, just assume that it was beautifully shot, because I don't want to say the phrase this film was beautifully shot. This was beautifully shot, because everything in this fucking movie is beautifully shot.
Everything is gorgeous, and I love it.
As part of his preparation, he gets, honestly, and
he just parties all the time.
Yeah, he just parties all the time. And then, but right before he goes out, he basically goes through a purification. Like, he gets scrubbed down.
Also, it's interesting. I'm so fascinated by the purification montage, because he is. It's kind of like from 3 different angles. Because you have the church angle, like the Catholic church, or I'm assuming the Catholic Church angle, I guess we could go with, like, the Anglo-Saxon, Abrahamic religion angle, where he has a shield that with a depiction, I believe it's I think it's the Virgin Mary. I'm not sure. I always forget. Look. I grew up Baptist. I forgot a lot of these things. So
I grew up Hindu. I know nothing.
Good for you. I'm glad you don't have to.
Damn.
It's weird.
Damn.
Look.
Anyway, what were you?
Hey, look. As someone who grew up in Texas, I'm going to tell you right now, all the Christianity and all adjacent religions, fucking weird. It's all fucking weird. It's so weird. They're all like, you read through these books and you're just like, okay, cool. So in like for example, in the Book of Kings, a bunch of kids make fun of a man who is bald. So then God summons bears to eat the children. I'm not kidding. That is in the book. It is in the Book of Kings. Look it up. It's weird. The Bible is weird. That's one example. So anyway, so like the shield is blessed with holy water, and I'm assuming Gawain is also blessed as well. There is the like the royal angle where you have both the king and queen essentially kind of just like talking him up and like telling him like, you know, this is the beginning of your story, you know, and do whatever, like do what you must essentially, and be mindful on your journey. And then you have the witchcraft angle with his mother and the women around her, who they create, like they actually like make all of the clothing that he wears. I think they make this beautiful gold shawl that he's wearing, and also most importantly, his mother Morgan Le Fay creates an enchanted belt.
Yes,
which is gonna come back. And the way this enchanted belt essentially is that she takes a piece of wood that in which she writes a series of characters. I was gonna say runes, but that's I don't think that's not the right word. But it's like that. There's like a series of characters, like an enchantment, and then and then puts it on a long piece of fabric filled with grass, and sews it together. And and she tells him, you know, wear this belt and no harm will come to you. It's an enchantment. And
no physical harm, but yeah.
Yeah, no physical harm. No physical harm will come to you. So you get, I'm fascinated by this because it kind of makes me it makes me think about how, you know, we have all these different belief systems, and those belief systems can manifest in very different ways, and having them all collide together is such an interesting choice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I didn't even pick up on that because all I was thinking about was just like, hey, he's like he's getting prepared for an Indian wedding.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Indian weddings. They are insane.
Oh my god! And let me tell you, that's the part after all the prep is complete. I have been backstage for these weddings just to get the bride and groom prepared for the.
I've also seen just like the parties before the wedding are insane. Like there is, if y'all haven't watched the show Sense8 on Netflix, I highly recommend it. One of the characters is she is a doctor who lives in India with her family, and she is proposed to by another doctor, and like there's a scene at a party for the two of them, and with like the parents meeting each other and like saying like, oh yes, we, you know, like we're gonna hold this wedding, and it is insane.
Oh buddy. Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't even want to imagine this wedding. This wedding is gonna be even worse.
Oh man. So yes,
as far as the insanity goes, I'm assuming that if the wedding took place, it would have been beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the thing about any wedding. It's just like, no matter how big and gaudy and just like absolutely insane they get, beautiful, stunningly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way this movie looks.
Oh yeah. which actually, yeah. Let's talk about the next scene where he begins his journey, and I just love how mundane the beginning of the quest is. And this is how I knew I was gonna love this movie, because we see the beginning of his quest, and it's literally just an extended shot of him riding his horse along the road, trying to shoo away the kids who are trying to pester him. And it is hilarious.
Yeah, it's really cute. I love seeing
it. And it's real.
I love the little kids. And he just like looks back. He only once he looks back at them, and I'm just like, yeah, I get it.
Kids gonna be kids.
Kids gonna be kids. Yeah, look, Jan, this is a really great movie. It's really great.
It's very. It gives its. I tell you what, this is. I'm gonna sound like that guy, but I don't care. But this was a good breath of fresh air in between Marvel movies, especially since I had to re-watch them for the retrospectives that we did in previous episodes, because I needed a slow burn, because I was just getting so, burned out on constant action, and it felt good to have a very contemplative. That's another word I would use to describe this movie. It's just, it allows things to breathe.
Honestly,
And
Dave,
yeah.
like, and it's so funny to go back and watch Lowry's previous movies, because this movie, like, the length of this movie is so out of character for him.
Oh, really?
Because, yeah, because prior to this, so, for those of you who don't know, David Lowery, this is his fifth feature following 2013's Ain't Them Body Saints, 2016's Pete's Dragon, the Disney remake, the only good Disney live action remake, 2017's A Ghost Story, and 2018's The Old Man and the Gun. And the longest movie of those four was Pete's Dragon at an hour and 43 minutes. This movie is 2 hours and 9 minutes. This movie's long, pretty long. Mm-hmm. His three other movies, all under 96 minutes.
Huh. Wow.
Like, the longest of the others was Ain't Them Body Saints at 96 minutes. A Ghost Story and The Old Man of the Gun, just over 90 minutes.
And that's including credits?
That's including credits. Yeah.
Wow.
Those are some they are some beautifully breezy watches. And honestly, it's kind of weird, because this movie, even, as we've mentioned, it's just over 2 hours. It's a slow burn. It doesn't, but you don't really feel that. It's nice to Lowry lets you just bask in this movie and just lets you live in the world of this story, and you don't really want it to end. Like, I could see there being a 2.5 hour cut, which I'm assuming there was at one point, because, and I said earlier we were going to get into this, but the editing of this movie is so fascinating to me. So
yeah,
it turns out, so as a lot of people know, this movie was originally supposed to come out in summer of 2020. It was delayed to this year due to the pandemic, and turns out we are all the better for it, because Lowry went back, due to the delaying of the movie for an entire year. He went back and re-edited the movie, because Lowry edited this movie himself, and he went like he did for A Ghost Story as well. He usually works with another editor, but this and A Ghost Story, he edited these two movies himself, and this one he went, because of the delay. He decided it was an opportunity for him to go back and completely re-edit the movie to be much better.
What kind of masochist would edit their own works?
Well, have you met Mike Flanagan, who actually literally edits all of his movies himself?
And I have not met Mike Flanagan, but I was referring more to, I think, the two of us who edit every episode of our podcast.
That is true. I mean, like, the Coen brothers edit all their movies themselves.
Woo!
I mean, at least you have another person there when it comes to them.
Right.
But yeah.
Speaking of another.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of another person, after Sir Gawain stays on the road for a while, he meets another person, and we get to watch on helplessly as poor Sir Gawain, poor naive, sheltered, living in his little bubble, Sir Gawain, does what we in D&D call fail the fuck out of an insight check. Because he meets this guy who is looting bodies off of a battlefield, and he trusts him when he says, oh yeah, you're going to want to take a shortcut around this river here.
I'm sorry.
And we could, and like,
look, no, not only that, but he met motherfucking Barry Keoghan in a movie, and you trusted him? I've seen The Killing of a Sacred Deer. You don't trust him. That's why every time I watch the Eternals trailer, I'm just like, I don't know if I'm supposed to trust him.
God, he just has one of those.
He has that face. He has that face is like the fact that like he had like the way like the face that he has, and the fact that his first high profile movie was one in which he is an extremely untrustworthy person. It just now peppers everything I see him in.
Yeah, honestly, it's the same thing with me and Michael Shannon. Like, I just cannot see him as a hero in anything.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And like, it's so like, that's why I love Midnight Special, where he plays a dad who's just like, I just want to protect my son.
Oh.
Everyone go watch Midnight Special. That movie is so fucking good. Jeff Nichols for life.
Jeff Nichols for life. And, okay, so after he makes the boneheaded decision to trust this guy. He gets mugged. And
yeah.
it is the most beautifully shot. Oh, there I go. Well, whatever. Let it flow. Who cares? The most beautifully shot mugging of all time, where we're treated to that very, is it diegetic or is it not shot of where the camera just focuses on his bound and gagged body, which awoken something in me, I'm not sure what. The camera focuses on his bound and gagged body, it rotates, and then when it comes back around to show his body, he's a skeleton, and and of course, he's not really dead, because the movie is we're only like 20 minutes into the movie at this point, but there's always that little, it was just that little, did they, okay, no.
Yeah, and
like,
also
for a second there.
Something very subtle that I did not know, that apparently, if you watch that shot closely, apparently there is like a changing of the seasons throughout that shot. So it, like, there are like if you watch the trees, that they will change. You watch the ground and the weeds and the leaves and everything starts changing throughout that shot very gradually to show like the passage of time in that shot. But of course, I see it the same way. I mean, on my second watch of this movie, I see that shot now as the same way I see the ending of this movie, where it's more of just a something that Gawain is like being shown. Like this is what could happen if you take the wrong path. Or if so Gawain decides, it's like, no, I'm not gonna die here. I'm gonna get out of here somehow. So he crawls over to grab this sword, cuts his hand. Really, girl? Right now? Right when I'm trying to monologue? I gotcha. I'm sorry. She decided to wake up right now.
Gotcha.
And he cuts himself a little bit on the sword, but he's able to get free. The weirdo that we've just seen, who I think is just called I don't remember what his, I think they give him a name in the credits. I forget exactly what it is. But anyway, Barry Keoghan, I believe I'm saying his name right. He runs off with both Gawain's horse and giant fucking axe that was given to him by the Green Knight. And Gawain is just like, I gotta continue on my quest. That's exactly what he does. So he
just keep walking.
Yeah. Yep, just keep walking. And he also it's also in this scene where he's bound and gagged, where we also meet a little character who is a nice little fox, cute little fox.
Yeah, just cute little fox who
will keep coming back.
Yep.
So the next part of his journey, he encounters the ghost of Saint Winifred.
And the movie becomes a horror movie for a second, because throughout this entire movie, the way that it's shot, it's a very sensorial experience. I feel like the little chilly breeze coming off of the river when he's walking right next to it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, none of that is getting edited out, by the way. I want everyone to hear Smoke sing the song of their people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
let her be your cat self.
I could feel like every cool breeze that comes off the river, and by the time I reached this scene in the movie, I was basically shivering in my seat, because fucking ghosts.
Oh yeah, and also like the way they use fog in this movie as well.
Yes. Talk more about that.
Absolutely gorgeous. And also, so another way I kind of prepared for my rewatch of the movie was I watch a lot of movies that Lowry has said were influences on this one. A couple, I didn't get to some of them. Like I didn't rewatch. For those of you who are interested, there's a great video on YouTube from the Alamo Draft House. It's a draft. I think it's Draft House Selects with David Lowry, where he talks about 5 movies that were major influences on The Green Knight. Most of which are actually available to watch online. The earliest is the Carl Theodor Dreyer 1920s film The Passion of Joan of Arc, available on the Criterion Channel if you have that. He also mentions films from the Coppolas, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, which I don't know if that's streaming anywhere. I don't think it is. And also Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette, a great movie on HBO Max right now, if you can get that. And but the two movies of those that I did watch were The Dark Crystal and Willow, which are now two of my all-time favorite movies now that I've seen them, because holy shit, The Dark Crystal is fucking incredible. And if anyone tells you that Willow is a bad movie, you cut that person out of your life, because you don't need that kind of negativity. That movie is so goddamn amazing. And also the fact that you cast Jean Marsh as the evil queen after she was already the evil queen in Return to Oz. Just, Also, I finally watched Return to Oz, and I cannot believe that movie was made for kids. The movie should not be shown to children. It is so scary. Oh my god. I love Return to Oz, but oh my god.
Is that the one that Sam Raimi did with James Franco?
No, that was Oz the Great and Powerful. No, Return to Oz is from 1985. It is the debut feature, debut directing feature from editor Walter Murch, and was the first movie starring Ferruccia Balk, who would go on to star in many of her favorite things, including The Craft and The Waterboy. Yes, I just mentioned those two movies on this podcast about the Green Knight.
Okay.
Hey, it's spooky season. Everyone go rewatch The Craft. It's awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of boys and water, Dev Patel has to dive into some water here because he has to retrieve
Winifred's head. Yeah. Also, I love Winifred challenging him at multiple points. The first of which was so after she discovers him in his, because he finds this abandoned house. The food is crumbling to dust. And he's like, okay, no one lives in this house. I mean, he makes it, honestly, I gotta say, he makes a safe assumption here. No one, it seems like no one's been in this house for many, many years. No one's around. I'm just gonna lay in this bed for the night, because I need a freaking bed. Right, and then Winifred wakes him up, and she's like, what are you doing in my bed? And he's like, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, I thought no one lived here. I'm gonna get out of here. So sorry. Honestly, everything he does up to this point regarding this scene, he's kind of in the right. I'm like, I don't blame him for these things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then the way, I love the moment you know this movie is a fantasy, of course, is when the witchcraft starts and the Green Knight shows up. And the next tell that this movie is a fantasy is when you have Winifred not walking toward him, but floating toward him. And he literally, looks down at her feet, then looks back up at her face, and you see the surprise on her face, and he's like, oh, so this is the journey I'm on right now.
Oh, man.
And then he even, having that realization of, what is she, and he even, because he asks her, he's about to, touch her shoulder, and she's like, what are you doing? Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me. A knight should know better.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, yeah, I know what movie I'm watching now, and I'm enjoying it very much.
And then there's that other time where she says, if you could retrieve my head, and then he's just like, what will you give me for it? And she's just like, did you really just ask that?
Yeah, she's like, why would you even ask me that? Because the thing is that this movie also, I feel that it really challenges how we see knights in fantasy.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Because the thing is that Gawain, he actually says it in he asks it in such a casual way, because he says, so I go retrieve your head. What will I receive in return? And it's he says it in such a casual way that if he said that in any other fantasy movie, she would have said oh, I'll give you this, or I'll give you that.
Right.
But here it's no. There is no easy answer. There's no easy route to take. It's just do this nice thing. Just do this thing for me.
Yeah.
Seriously. Do you have to?
Wow.
Do you have to be so vocal right now?
Wow, she is.
At this point, Smoke is just my co-host on everything I do.
I mean, I see no problem with that. That is the complete opposite of a problem.
No.
But
I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't help when I'm like, I get home at 8 a.m. from working all night and I'm trying to go to sleep.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I love her, but at that moment I'm just like, girl, please, don't do this to me. But yeah, so he dives into the water and it's amazing. I love it.
This is the moment where if I had no manners, I would have stood up in theater and just be like, yes, this is what I was hoping for in this movie. This is what I was watching.
This is cinema. I would have gone full Scorsese. He just stood up and be like, this is cinema right here, and just turned to everyone and just look and like, you see this? You see what? I'd be like Buzz, like, you see that? You see this? You see the hat? I'd be like, you see this? Yeah. You see the screen? This is cinema.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm not even going to describe what happens on the scene because I just want everyone to just see it for themselves.
It's gorgeous. I love it. Perfect. No nuts. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's my follow-up question though. Mm-hmm. As beautiful and haunting as this entire segment was, did it really add anything to the plot of this movie? And subsection, did it need to?
Yes and no. So here's my stance on plot. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
To me, plot doesn't matter. It's all about just tell me what the story is and tell me how and put some characters in it that I'm going to either care about or find interesting enough to want to follow, and just let them run loose. That is my stance on storytelling usually. So
yeah.
That's how I feel about this scene, is that I know a lot of people, like an overwhelming number of people have said that they could take or leave this scene. And I'm saying absolutely fucking not. You have to have this scene. You have to have it. You have to have the scene because this is I believe every encounter that Godwin has with someone builds him to that final scene. To the final scene with the Green Knight, with that moment of him, spoilers, taking off the belt.
Yeah.
Like, when he takes off that belt, every scene, like, every encounter he has, feeds into that moment. So,
yes.
This scene is important, I believe, because this is him encountering someone who is not putting up with his bullshit. This is this is someone who just needs help, and and showing him that, like, it's just a good thing to just help someone and not expect something in return.
Yes.
And the thing is, and that's what a knight is. That's what honor is about. In order to have honor, you have to be selfless to a certain extent. Like, take care of yourself, of course. But really, right next to the mic.
Right next to the mic. I love it.
She got right up next to the mic. Look at this baby. Hello, baby. But yeah, like take care of yourself, but also be selfless. Take care of others as well. And that's what honor is about. That's what being a knight is about. And that's what this scene really helps teach him, is to, in order to have honor, you must be selfless. And my lord, she is so needy right now, but I'm okay with it because I love her.
yeah, absolutely. And just to build off of the point is that, sometimes a movie, I think the Roger Ebert quote that sums up your feelings well is like, I don't care what a movie's about, I care about how it's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm also, because I'm also the type of person, I'm pretty sure I've talked about this I've talked about this a lot on other shows, including my own. But when I don't understand something, I generally don't give a shit.
Right.
I know a lot of people who also just said I could take over the scene just because I don't fully and not a knock on these people. Just like I don't fully comprehend it, and that's fine. I don't fully comprehend a lot of things. Like, yeah. One of my favorite movie of all time is A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. There's a lot of things in that movie that I just don't fucking get. But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't give a shit because that movie makes me feel something, and I love it.
Right, exactly. It's amazing, and it's another thing, too, that I feel like it's very telling that people suddenly turn their brains on whenever something doesn't make sense to them, but you when it comes to other movies, they're just like, oh, just turn your brain off. Because I mean, for me, this is the kind of movie that's a quote unquote turn your brain off movie. Because as I'll keep coming back to this, it is a sensorial experience. And honestly,
Absolutely.
this movie is a series of vignettes and a series of sensorial experiences. And if you think that this is the only example of a movie or some piece of media being a series of sensorial experiences and unique vignettes, this is not unique to this movie. And you know how I know this? Because Cowboy Bebop exists.
Also, I also have to mention, Stephen King's The Gunslinger exists. The Dark Tower exists. If you read that first book in the Dark Tower series, that book is mostly just vignettes. It's mostly just a series of events that Roland Deschain is just going through in order to catch up to the Man in Black. Each chapter is. So the first chapter is him encountering a hermit in a little home, following the death of his mule, and then telling the story of how he massacred an entire town because the Man in Black took it over.
Wow.
And then following that, he meets the boy Jake Chambers, who is from New York of our world. Look, The Dark Tower is insane, and I highly recommend everyone check it out. Please read the Dark Tower series. It is batshit insane.
I will definitely put it on my list. And,
also just know that most of those books are fucking long.
Long, yeah.
Thankfully, the Gunslinger is the shortest. It's like 250 pages. So that would, that's easy to get into. Following that, most of the books are like I think there are 2 that are under 500 pages. The rest are 600 and up. God. The longest is the 4th book, Wizard and Glass, which is nearly 900 pages. And is all backstory. Literally, it's all the entire book is just I think it's the first 150 pages. It's just them getting out of the events of the 3rd book, and then it's all about, now let's get into Roland's backstory and tell you why he's actually a human being and not just a killing machine. Because most of the story is but thus far is Roland is essentially an unstoppable gunslinger and has very little emotion, but you still kind of latch onto him because he begins to care about these people that are around him. And then Wizard and Glass shows why he is the way he is. And you're like, oh fuck. Oh god.
Oh, jeez.
So much has happened to you, my sweet baby.
Oh, man. All right. So, I feel like we should skip ahead to, my personal favorite vignette now, which,
The Exchange of Winnings?
Wait, which part was
the Lord and Lady of the House?
That's it, yeah. Yeah.
I'm going off of because something else that I love throughout the movie is a lot of the major scenes will be preceded by a sequence of the story. Yeah, they'll have major title cards. So the first title card we have is a Christmas game. Getting it once we get into the court. Then we have a 2 Cookere. Then we have I think it's just called The Meeting with Saint Winifred, I believe is the name of that one. There's also the Journey Out with that, which that's when Gawain is leaving the town, which I'm assuming is Camelot. And meets Barry Keoghan and his band of thieves. But following Saint Winifred, but by the way, he also gets his axe back. That's the thing that he receives in return.
Yeah.
Kind of showing this she was going to give him a gift in return, but it was rude. Basically, it was just rude of him to assume, and that was kind of that was her teaching. It was a teachable moment for him of just, don't assume you'll always receive something in return for doing a good deed. Sometimes it's just good to do a good deed, and you'll receive a surprise at some point in your life, and that surprise just happens to come the next morning, and when he receives the axe again. And he spends the night in a cave. He takes some mushrooms. He gets wigged out. He's now on this journey with the fox again because the fox comes back. Then he finds a castle, and he comes to the castle and he passes out.
And when he wakes up, his guests, or his hosts, I should say,
the Lord. They don't even have actual names. They're just known as the Lord and the Lady.
Yeah, the Lord and the Lady. Only way I could describe this vignette is just, it is a film adaptation of the meme that goes, "Hey, my partner and I saw you from across the bar and we liked your vibe."
Oh my god, you're so right! Oh my god, I've never thought of it that way, and I will never think of it any other way now because of you. Thank you for putting that into every viewing of The Green Knight from this point. Because look, another thing that I have to mention before we get into the meat of this is the fact that this movie is so fucking rewatchable.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
There are Denis Villeneuve to me is like, prior to watching more of David Lowery's movies, Denis Villeneuve was to me like the director of making movies that are surprisingly rewatchable, because like, I don't know how, but I'm able to watch Sicario. Like, I could probably watch the movie once a week and be totally fine and never get tired of it. That movie is so good. I think within the first I remember seeing Blade Runner 2049 opening night, like Thursday opening night. I was like, that was my most anticipated movie of 2017. I went and saw that as soon as possible at an Alamo Drafthouse Cinema, and holy fuck, those seats shook like my brain. That movie is... Look, if you haven't seen Blade Runner 2049, go watch it, please. You don't have to see the original Blade Runner if you don't want to. I mean, the original Blade Runner is a very good movie, but 2049 is fucking incredible. Like, set aside a good 2 hours and 40 minutes and just sit and bask in the glory of that movie.
Yeah, don't make the same mistake I made and start watching that at 11 p.m.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Started at like 6 p.m.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, don't eat too heavy. You don't want to fall asleep. You really don't want to fall asleep. That is just how like The Green Knight is a slow burn. That movie is a slow burn. But getting back to what I was trying to say about that one in particular was like, as soon as it came out on physical media, I think I watched it like another 5 times within the first like 3 or 4 months of it coming out, because I just couldn't get enough of it. I was like, I'm so surprised at how much I enjoy just watching this movie and sitting in it, and I don't get tired of it. In fact, I haven't seen that movie in probably like a good 2.5 years. I'm due for a rewatch, and I'm pretty sure as soon as I sit back down and watch that movie, I'm gonna go like, oh yeah, no, this is like one of the greatest movies ever made. It's incredible. It's like sitting back down and rewatching Mad Max Fury Road for the first time in several years. Or sitting there and watch like any of those movies, like rewatching Alien or Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or The Red Shoes, and you just sit down and watch, or like The Third Man, and you sit down and watch these movies, and you're like, I kind of forgot how fucking incredible this movie is, and how fun it is to just like, sit down and just sit in this world. Even though a lot of those movies like end have very bitter endings. I'm looking at you, The Red Shoes. They have so many wonderful moments. Like a moment that will live rent free in my head forever is a moment early on in The Red Shoes. Everyone, please go watch that movie. It's incredible. There's a moment early on where these two characters are interacting, really interacting for the first time. Played by Anton Walbrook and Moira Shearer. And he asks her, "Why do you want to dance?" And she thinks for a hot second and then says, "Why do you want to live?" And then he says, "Well, I don't think it's not so much that I choose to, more that I have to." And she says, "As do I." I'm just like, this is like, I'm like, that is like the definition of like why people do what they do. It's like, why do you want to, why do you want to do, this thing? Like, why do you want to write? Why do you want to dance? Why do you want to do this thing? It's like, because I feel compelled to, because I have to. If I don't do it, I will go insane. Like, why does Batman do what he does? Because he has to, because he feels compelled to, because if he didn't do it, he would go insane. That's right. I am in the Grant Morrison camp that Batman is not actually insane, and that if he wasn't Batman, he would be insane.
Damn. I mean, wow.
I mean, look, Grant Morrison's taken a lot of characters is fascinating. And that is one of the most fascinating. In that he's like, I'm sorry, and then Morrison's like, if like Bruce Wayne didn't become Batman, Bruce Wayne would go insane.
That is very compelling, and that has given me a lot to think about.
Yeah, because like, look, it is very easy to just say like, yeah, Batman is a weird insane dude who goes around beating criminals up or beating people to a pulp in alleys, and that's fair. That's a fair comparison. That's a fair analysis of the character. Just not the one that I subscribe to.
Right.
You know what I do subscribe to though? The Green Knight is awesome. Yes. And this sequence involving the Lord and the Lady of the Castle is weird.
Yeah, I feel like we've just been kind of all this build up has been just stalling
to this scene. This series of scenes.
Yeah, and let's just rip this Band-Aid off right now. Like I think the scene, regardless of people, whether you like this movie, whether you dislike it, the scene that everyone is going to remember is, and it's why I snickered a little bit when you said that the belt comes up later.
I didn't actually mean to make that joke.
I know you didn't.
It just kind of happened. But I'm very proud of it now. You can cut this part out where I say I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't cut it out, please.
No.
Everyone should know that I make funny jokes. That the only time I make funny jokes is when I don't mean to. Is when I'm talking about things.
Yeah, that's why you have me here, to pick up on these things and elevate what you say. And I am just stalling
and
more because I don't want to. And I don't want to talk about the cum belt because everyone's talking about the cum belt. Everyone on fucking Letterboxd is talking about the cum belt. Like, there is more to the movie than the cum belt.
Or as some people will call it, the witchcraft belt.
Right, which is what it's supposed to be.
I consider that as both a witchcraft and a cum belt, a witch cum belt, if you will. Or a cumcraft belt.
Which, and I think another thing that makes that, so for those of you who somehow made it to this far to the episode without watching the movie, I don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Oh yeah, what are you even doing here? Pause, like seriously, get off this episode and go watch the freaking movie. It is out of physical media.
Yeah, exactly. It's already been 30 seconds. You've already registered as a listen, so.
Yeah.
But, so anyway. Or you know what? This is just for the people who need a reminder as to what happened. So, before at the start of this little vignette here, he gets very friendly with the Lord and the Lady, and the movie does a very excellent job of establishing that Lady's making fuck me eyes at Sir Gawain, and she is. We all
should also mention the fact that she is played by Alicia Vikander. Who has already been playing Essel in the movie.
Yeah, which adds a whole other level of weirdness to this. But just to keep this conversation flowing, she makes no secret that she is horny for Sir Gawain, to the point that she does the medieval equivalent of take his picture, which, again, another beautifully shot moment where...
Oh yeah, and finding out how they did that scene is incredible, because what they did was they actually just shot Dev Patel like separately, shot him in that position, and then projected it into the room with her.
Yeah, because so basically what you're saying is that this is, for those of you who know what a daguerreotype is, this seems like what they did here. All practical effects, a daguerreotype. Just they took his picture.
Yeah, and that's the majority of this movie. I mean, this movie has a number of special effects and special effect shots. But it's done in the way that like special effects, I believe, should be done, and that they, like, yes, it's fun to have like special effects be the focal point of certain for certain movies, like when I went and saw Shang-Chi and I saw a giant dragon, that was awesome. Yeah. I'm totally fine with the giant dragon being there, because it looks fucking cool. But here, this isn't that type of movie. Like if you did something like that, it would feel extremely out of place. So instead, you have like, maybe to like extend certain, extend parts of a shot or to add something to it. Finding out that there was during the sequence there is the shot of Joel Edgerton. We haven't even mentioned the fact that the Lord is played by motherfucking Joel Edgerton. So there is after he has gone on a hunt and he drops like an elk at the feet of Gawain. There is like a worm's eye view shot of Joel Edgerton, and like it's foggy and cloudy and the wind is going. And I found out watching behind the scenes that apparently they had to, because they had to add in the fog later in post production, they had to actually animate the fur on his coat.
Jesus.
Because like the way they were adding in the fog, it wasn't working right. So they had to basically just take, shots of him where the wind wasn't moving or the wind wasn't blowing, and use that as a base, and then actually animate the fur. And of course, when you watch the movie, you're not thinking about that. Like it's like, because that's how the visual effects in this type of movie works, where it's not there as a focal point. It's there to just add subtle elements to make the shot work, to sell the shot, to make you live in that world, and to make it feel like it actually exists in a world.
And that attention to detail also, speaking all this talk about shots, and we have to circle back to this movie's money shot, where, again, for those who need a reminder, I am just the master of segues. This is, I just keep wondering to myself, why are we in explicit content? Just because we say fuck a lot? Nah, it's because of shit like this.
It's because we're talking about because we're talking about the Comcraft belt.
Yes, the Comcraft belt, which so the context behind this is behind the scene is the lady has been making no effort to hide the fact that she is horny for Sir Gawain. But Sir Gawain,
as we all are, come on, it's Dev Patel.
Dev Patel, that's true.
Look, I was about to leap through the screen, freaking like just to get on top of that boy. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna hide it. Or him get on top of me. That is the life of a Switch.
Victory sip.
Okay, I'm not so much of a Switch. I'm more of a sub. Anyway, continue.
But yes, so the scene that everyone talks about. So, and just this ties back into what we were talking about earlier about how honorable Sir Gawain has been this entire movie. He picks up on the lady's advances towards him, but he's just like, he doesn't say this outright, but he just demonstrates through his actions, I'm sorry, you are a married woman, I'm just gonna go to bed. He goes to bed, wakes up the next morning, and apparently lady is not good at taking no for an answer.
Yeah,
because she greets him in the morning. It's just like, why didn't you come into my chambers? And she's just like,
because I shouldn't, because it's not the right thing to do.
Exactly. But lady has a way of getting what she wants, because she reveals that, correct me if I'm wrong here, but she reveals that she has taken off his belt. She's taken off the invincibility belt, right?
Yes, she did.
Yes. So, in order to persuade him to satiate her desires, she just says, if you want this back, she gives him a hand job. God damn it. I'm just...
you're trying to work around it, but like, it's like, there's no getting around the fact that she jerked him off.
Yeah, she jerks him off in the morning. And even watching that in the theater, I'm just like, you know what, maybe it's not. It's like, nope, the movie treats us to
a shot of cum on the belt, and him squeezing it, and that squelching sound on the belt, and that is and like in that moment, Gawain is like, oh, I kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and then,
or at least that's the way he feels, and then it gets even weirder when he turns around and the mother is there.
Yes, which, let me tell you something about it. Here's the way I read that scene, because if you notice, she's wearing the same, like, witch's garment as
Yeah, and she's
Morgan Le Fay
blindfolded
was
the same
wearing.
way that Morgan Le Fay was in the beginning when she was writing the letter.
Yeah, and of course, at this point, it hasn't been revealed that his mother has been watching him this whole time, but the way I read it this is after I walked out of the movie, the way I'm talking to him was just like, was that seriously his mother's way of getting him to get the belt back on? Was she watching him through that mother as a medium?
That actually tracks. I can't disagree. I can't disagree with that logic.
Yeah, which, just makes it even weirder.
Yeah.
And,
Also, Dev Patel and Joel Edgerton share a kiss. It's hot.
yeah.
There's no denying it.
God, it is. Hence, going back to my initial statement about how this is a
Weirdly
film
horny movie.
a weirdly horny movie, and how it was a film adaptation of that polyamory meme, because
I cannot believe that you brought that up.
It's one
because
of the most
you're not wrong. And I hate that you're not wrong.
I am never wrong, JD.
Well, that's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, just humor me for a bit. Yeah, well, it's my show, and it goes the way I did.
Fine. You're right. This is your show. I will placate your ego.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. We should also mention that before, so Gawain leaves and he's like, no, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
He's running through the forest. Actually, something else something I also want to quickly mention. So when he arrives at the castle, he is told that it is December 21st. So he's still a few days, and apparently the Green Chapel is just like a day's ride from the castle. So that's why he's chilling out. Essentially, he's like, I'm almost there. I still have a few days. I will take some time to rest, and that's why he's staying there. But now it's like the day. I guess it's the day before. It's the day before. It's Christmas Eve. Yes, that's what it seems like. So as he's leaving the grounds, he is caught by the Lord finds him. Essentially receives the gift that he asked for because the previous night, the Lord says you must promise me that that you will give me a gift that I cannot receive, and they had the conversation of it seems like you have everything. What can I give you? And it's like, well, I don't know. The gift he receives is a kiss from Gawain, and Gawain's like, I'm a little weirded out by everything going on here. I'm weirded out by the two of you and what's going on here, so I'm leaving. And Lord is like, before you leave, I caught this little creature in a trap. I was going to give him to you, but I think we'll just let nature take care of him. He takes this bag, and in the bag is the fox. The fox is back. Yes. And this leads us to the moment before Gawain goes to the chapel. So he comes to a river, and what he's supposed to do is to just get in this boat that is by the river, and then take it to the Green Chapel, where he will once again encounter the Green Knight and fulfill his end of the game.
Yes.
Before he gets on the boat, the fox talks.
And what does the fox say?
That's what the fox says. Or wah pa 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 pow. Wah pa 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 pow. Wah pa 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 pow.
Or hati 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 ho. Anyway, I can do that all.
We could. No, the fox says, you don't have to go through with this. I will carry your secret. And you can go. And Gawain's like, no, I'm going to go through with this. I'm going to get some honor. I'm going to get some fucking honor out of this, and I'm going to go, fulfill my end of the game. And this is another major change from the text. Actually, we've already talked through a couple changes. So in the original text, the hunt that the Lord goes on, Gawain is actually a part of.
Oh.
And it's actually like a big part. But Lowry is like, you know, like he's like, I don't really want to leave the castle. I want to like make the majority of this section of the movie.
Yeah.
And I want to isolate Gawain in this castle. So he removed that part and really just had it really just take place off screen. Mm-hmm. But the big change that he made was that the fox is not in the original text.
Right.
In actuality, that scene does take place in the original text, but it's not it's not a talking fox. It is in fact a servant of the Lord and Lady. I think like a servant or like a squire, someone who works for the Lord who works in the castle, and was instructed to accompany Gawain to ensure his safe travel to the Green Chapel, and tells Gawain the exact same thing that the fox says. You don't have to go through with this. I will keep you leave, and I will keep your secret till the day I die. Right. And then Gawain does the same thing. Like, no, I'm going to keep my honor and go through with this and fulfill my end of the game. But Lowry has said that he didn't want to introduce a whole new character this late into the story. So instead, he just introduced a talking fox that doesn't speak until this scene, and just introduces the fox at the beginning of the movie, and just has him keep popping up, and then brings him back for this scene.
Yeah, because honestly, at this point in the movie, so much weird shit has happened that the audience is not going to be fazed by the fox just talking.
Oh, absolutely! Like we've firmly established that this is fantasy. It's like we have the Green Knight, we have a ghost, we have witchcraft, we have giants, which we haven't even talked about the giant ladies yet, at all. Which I have found out what they are. David Lowery has mentioned what they are.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, let's we're gonna
sidebar that for the time being, and we'll talk about it after we get to what happens at the end of this movie.
Yeah, how do you interpret what happens at the end of this movie? Because the way it plays out,
the last temptation of Christ.
Yeah. Oh. Yep.
It is the exact same thing. I'm not kidding. Yes, it is. As soon as the movie ended, I was like, I feel like I've seen something like this before. I know I've seen something like this before. And then I go into Letterboxd and I see Chris Evangelista's review on Letterboxd, and it just says The Last Temptation of Dev, and I'm like, fuck, that's right. It's The Last Temptation of Christ. For those of you who don't know, there is a 1988 film directed by Martin Scorsese and written by Paul Schrader based on the novel by Nicholas Kazantzakis entitled The Last Temptation of Christ. Yes, I knew all of that off the top of my head because I am fucking insane. Anyway, this movie has a sequence toward the end in which Jesus has been crucified. He is on the crucifix, has been crucified by the Romans, and he then he gets taken down by Mary Magdalene. They consummate the relationship. They get married. They have children. And he essentially just lives the happy life that he honestly, you know what, deserves. He deserves it. But there are things wrong with that life. There are aspects that he is not okay, that don't sit right with him. And he eventually dies of old age. And then it reveals that was all something that was put into his mind by God. And he is still on the crucifix. And then he makes a plea to God that, I will die, but you must take away the sins of man. And that is exactly what, and that type of thing happens verbatim here at the end of the Green Knight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I cannot believe that David Lowery doesn't talk about that. He doesn't talk about it at all. But I'm like, huh. I mean, I'm actually curious because I'm not sure if this was in the original text, and if it was, that would mean that he did not take this from Kazantzakis and Scorsese. That he indeed just took it from the original text. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was in the original text, to be honest. So anyway, what we keep getting talking around essentially is that. Yes. At the end of this movie, he does, in fact, arrive at the Green Chapel. He sets the axe on the steps and waits for the Green Knight to wake. The Green Knight wakes the next morning, and tries to fulfill the bargain. And he tries to, because the Green Knight said, whatever blow you deliver to me, I would deliver back to you. So since Gawain cut the Green Knight's head off, it's now time for Gawain to give up his head. Yep. And Gawain can't go through with it. And he runs.
Yep, he chickens out.
He finds his horse. He gets back to Camelot. He says that, yep, totally did it. He then has sex with Essel, who then bears his child. He gets knighted by the king. The king and queen die. He then in turn becomes king. And when Essel delivers their child, he takes it from her and marries another royal and lives out the rest of his days as a king, going to war, doing the king shit, not doing actual king shit, just doing the king shit.
Yeah, doing monarchy shit.
Yeah, doing monarchy shit. We'll go with that. That's better. Thank you for that. Not doing king shit, he's doing monarchy shit. And monarchy shit is bullshit, in fact. Yes. His son dies. He returns from war. Camelot is being burned to the ground. His second child, who is with the first with his wife, they escape, and he eventually finally takes off the belt. Because this whole time, he has never taken off the belt. Never. Takes off the belt, and his head falls off. Yeah. And he's dead. And then it cuts back to Gawain and the Green Chapel. Yeah. And it turns out that everything and I clocked this. So that sequence starts at 1:48. And then it ends, that shot of Dev Patel back in the Green Chapel, having just seen this vision, is at 2 hours and 3 minutes. So that scene was 15 minutes long. Yeah. We just sat through 15 minutes of a fucking montage to then be told it was all a vision.
Which, honestly, on paper, sounds like a terrible idea.
It sounds like an awful idea, because something that I kind of agree with Roger Ebert on is multiple dream sequences kind of fucking suck. Having one dream sequence, not so terrible. Yeah. Having two dream sequences, not the worst thing in the world, but not very good. Having three or more, you are really fucking pushing it with me. Yeah. But the thing is that this is fantasy, so visions and dreams abound, please. Yes. And you're right. Having a 15-minute sequence in which to reveal that it was all not real sounds like a terrible idea. But it absolutely works here.
Yeah, because the reason why it works is because if it were any shorter, it would have, then his motivation to just go to take off the belt makes no sense.
Oh my god, and that moment of just, he's like, wait. He's not cowering, he just says, wait. Quickly takes off the belt, takes a sigh and says, okay, I'm ready now.
Credits.
Not quite. Not quite, because then we have the Green Knight kneel down, lifts his head, wipe a tear from Gawain's cheek, and then he says, he says, my brave knight, and then draws a finger across his neck and says, off with your head. Smiles, and cut back to the Green Knight, and close up of the Green Knight's face, gives a little smile and a twinkle in his eye, and then credits.
Yep.
And that's the end of the movie, and it's great. I love it. Yeah. Okay, we should talk about the giant women.
Hang on. Before I do that, though, I want to talk more about that montage and just how fucking heartbreaking it was.
Oh my god! It made Gawain out to be literally the worst knight in the world.
Exactly. Yeah, because one thing it's like, side note, there's this discourse that makes its way around Twitter around sex scenes in movies about whether they're necessary or whether they could be cut out or whether they should be taken out altogether. I think I've showed I think you can kind of figure out my position on them. It's just, it depends. Like, come on, like, you don't take them out entirely, but at the same time, most of the time they show a purpose. You just gotta think about it. And I want to talk about, and I think that montage illustrates the effectiveness of what a good sex scene can do.
Yeah.
Because we actually get to see Sir Gawain have sex with Essel. When he consummates his marriage with his arranged wife, it just cuts to them both lying in bed. We see nothing. And that illustrates just the level of intimacy that he lost when he left Essel.
Yeah. And the level of, and the type of human being he is now, in that like once Essel got pregnant, that was when he, like, almost like a switch flipped in his mind. Yeah, it's incredible. And also I am somewhere where I'm just like, like, sex is a natural part of humanity, and therefore, like, if we're, like, absolutely show it, be tasteful about it, but show it. Or don't be tasteful and just show all the nitty-gritty weird shit that happens in the bed, because that's fun too.
Basic instinct, motherfucker. Oh!
God damn, that movie is incredible.
No, that movie is what is Alfred Hitchcock without the code holding him back. That's what that movie is.
Honestly, not just that movie, like any Brian De Palma movie as well. Like, you watch like Body Double, Dress to Kill, Blowout, any of the, like, anything, Sisters, Obsession is essentially our Vertigo ripoff. And De Palma fully admits it. He's talked about how, like, that movie, he's like people always talk about, like, directors being influenced by Hitchcock, and he says, I'm the only one who, like, got the school of Hitchcock and fully ran with it. And I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong. Like, please brag about that, actually. But, like, to quote Matt Torpy in a Patrick Williams video, like, Brian De Palma is, like, Hitchcock, like, it's like Hitchcock, but if he was even more of a perv.
Yes.
Like, that's De Palma. Like, you watch Body Double and you're like, yeah, like, this is, like, just really pervy Hitchcock. And Hitchcock was already a perv.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you have Paul Verhoeven's Basic Instinct. And, I miss erotic thrillers, don't you?
I do. I legitimately do.
Also, I know it's not, like, the best movie, but we should appreciate Hollow Man more. Also, I watched that movie way too young. I think I was, like, max 10 years old when I watched that. No 10-year-old. And also, my mother showed me that movie. She had already seen it. She was a fan of that movie. And then she said, let's watch Hollow Man. Because I honestly forget. I think it was, like, I don't know. I think I was just getting into Kevin Bacon at that point. And she's like, let's watch Hollow Man because Kevin Bacon's in it. And I remember the scene that hurt me the most was when he killed the invisible dog. That scene hurt me, and I was like, oh no, he must die.
Yeah, because the way he does it too is just...
Oh, it's gross.
Mm-hmm.
It is unnerving, and I am so happy he dies at the end of that movie. That motherfucker. Hollow Man is such a weird movie that I feel like should be appreciated a bit more.
I agree, especially, like, even just for special effects, because it's
and also Paul Verhoeven, appreciate your own goddamn movie. He doesn't like Hollow Man because he's like, that is the one movie that like I feel like anybody else could have made. He's like only I could have made RoboCop, only I could have made Starship Troopers, and I'm like, you're right. And then he says, but anybody else could have made Hollow Man. I'm like, no, you're wrong. No one else could have like yes, anybody else can make an Invisible Man movie. Like, we've seen that. Like, we have, we of course we have James Wales's The Invisible Man starring Claude Rains. We have Lee Winnell's The Invisible Man from last year. but no one else could have made Hollow Man. Right. Except Paul Verhoeven. Okay, maybe Brian De Palma could have done it, but I would rather see Paul Verhoeven's.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about the giant ladies?
No. One last little snippet. It would have been so easy for Essel to just disappear after they took the baby after her, but man, that death glare she gives Sir Gawain when he comes back.
Yeah, from war after their son dies, and he's holding the gold band that his son wore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! And that shot, that death stare, and like how like the entire crowd fades out, and you just have Essel standing there by herself. Like the subjectivity of that shot with it's like this is like basically like putting us in the shoes of Gawain of this is all that he is seeing. This is all that is on his mind right now. Like, good fucking lord. That whole sequence is incredible. And it's such a massive flex.
Speaking of massive, let's talk about the giant ladies now.
Yes, so, I want to let everyone know, back to me talking about the King cast, because that's all I listen to at this point now. It's that Let's Not Meet in My Favorite Murder, because I'm now become a basic white bitch and I listen to true crime. God. I listen to true crime podcasts now because because turns out they're actually really good. And I learn a lot of things, and also I learn things that make me very sad. So, but I also listen to the Stephen King podcast, The King Cast, hosted by Eric Vespi and Scott Wampler. Everyone should check out The King Cast. It's fascinating. But David Lowery was on an episode where he discussed what I think could possibly be my favorite King novel. But it also can't be because Salem's Lot is my favorite book of all time. But a very close second is the recent King novel, Revival. And Lowry was on that episode, and at the very top of the episode, like both Eric and Scott had Green Knight questions, and Scott was like, "Look, I'm a simple man. I've also been called a stupid. Somebody call me stupid, but I have to know what's up with those those giants in the Green Knight." And David, and he's like, "How does one interpret that?" And Lowry has said that he believes they are an ancient race of beings that are fed up with this world and are going on to something else. And he says that it might also make a bit more sense once you realize that all the giants are female. So that they are leaving this world in search of something better, something different. Do I know exactly how to interpret that? Not at all. Do I care? Not at all. I don't.
It's not that kind of movie. Yeah.
No.
The answers are the ones you come up with. This is what this kind of movie is.
And sometimes the answer is just, I don't know and I don't really care.
Right.
And that's how I feel at the end of the day about a lot of aspects of not just this movie, but a lot of movies. And that there are just going to be things where I don't know exactly how to interpret this. Yeah. And I don't really care. I just like it.
You could say that's how Gawain reacts to seeing those giants, because the first thing he does is just, when he sees them, is just ask for directions.
Yeah, literally. I love that. I love it. It reminds me of, toward the end of Morrison Quest, I was getting into Morrison books that, I didn't fully comprehend, like Nameless and The Green Lantern. I didn't know how to fully interpret those things, and I fully admitted it on the episodes. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. But I don't really care, because I'm just having fun. And that's how I feel about the Green Knight. It's they're all, I understand, I feel like I understand a lot of this. But there's also a lot of things here that I will just fully admit I don't get. But I don't care, because it's still fucking cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or just weird enough to be entertaining.
Exactly. And honestly, yeah, we've been going kind of long here, so I think that's just a good conclusion. It's just that this movie, well, absolutely go see it, because even if you don't get it, which I don't even know what I don't even know what I mean by that. Like, well, how do you get this movie? If you come away with it just wanting to with something to talk about and some kind of interpretation, just some kind of original thought that you apply to this movie, then it's done its job. That's the kind of movie this movie is.
Yes. And I will conclude my thoughts on the movie with this. David Lowery is a genius. Everyone watch Peter Pan and Wendy next year when it comes out. I believe it's supposed to release exclusively on Disney Plus and might get a theatrical release. I hope it gets a theatrical release. I really hope it does. So now David Lowery is about to make is currently making what will potentially be the one of the two only good live action Disney remakes. The other being Pete's Dragon. Everyone go watch Pete's Dragon. It will make you cry so fucking hard and make you feel all the feelings. And also, I just want to say, David Lowery, I know what movie you should make next, and it should be an adaptation of Neil Gaiman's novel, The Ocean at the End of the Lane. It is perfect for you. And also, there's a particular character in there, Ursula Monkton, and there's only one person you cast, and it is Elizabeth Debicki. David Lowery, if you're listening, please make this happen. Also, one last thing that I wanted to mention because I found it so interesting about like the production of this movie. So, something I found out about David Lowery, apparently he's vegan, and he's been vegan for a very long time. And apparently, the entire production of this movie was vegan. Like all of the costuming. Oh. Yeah. So like all of like the fur and the leather you see in this movie, all vegan. Yeah. So it's all faux fur and faux leather throughout this entire movie. Interesting. Yeah. Wow. So that's something to feel good about, is that this movie was absolutely 100% cruelty free.
Yeah. No CGI foxes were harmed in the making of this one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow. But
so, everyone go see The Green Knight. It's great.
Yes. And here's to more expanded roles for the Daisy community.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right. So we've reached the end of the episode. You know what it's time for, JD. Where can people find you on the internet?
Oh boy. So if you want to, I have currently 2 podcasts running. In fact, the day we're recording is the beginning of season 5 of my main show, Comicsquest, which, Paresh, who's the guest on that episode?
Patrick Willem. No, I'm just kidding. You wish.
I mean, I really do, but in fact, I have someone better. I have you.
Oh, shit. Yeah, yep. I am. As a matter of fact, that episode dropped today.
Episode dropped today. We discussed the Donny Cates and Daniel Warren Johnson comic, The Ghost Fleet. You can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please check out. We're under the Certain POV network, so please check out certainpov.com. Check out all the great podcasts there. There's also the podcast I host with Angela Bones Bullock, Fables and Reflections, where we discuss any and all the works of Neil Gaiman. I already mentioned this piece earlier, but as of this recording, later this week, we're releasing our episode on the novel The Ocean at the End of the Lane, where I also discuss a little bit why I think David Lowery should make that movie. It's because it's a fairy tale, and David Lowery makes fairy tales. And so you can find the shows at certainpov.com, as well as wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Comics Quest on Twitter at Comics Quest Show. You can follow Fables and Reflections on Twitter and Instagram at F&R Pod, and is spelled out. And if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at JD_Martin_, because there are apparently a lot of JD Martins out there. And that's about it. Yeah.
You are a busybody, dude. You are a busybody.
Apparently.
Yeah. All right. And as you all should know by now, this is Busted Limes. You can find us wherever podcasts are sold. But if you want to follow me personally, my name is Paresh Maharaj. You can find me on Twitter at NobleKind92. And if you want to follow my co-host, Black Belt, you could follow him at BlackBelt1998. He retweets a lot of good stuff. He's currently working on a thread full of Kamen Rider memes, so if any Tokusatsu fans out there, that's something for you to interact with on his page. And he will be back for our next episode. We are anticipating covering the live-action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, going back to our roots, to our very first episode. It dealt with Cowboy Bebop, so it's only appropriate that we talk about that live-action Cowboy Bebop.
If you want to guest for that episode, I'm fully on board with it.
Oh, shit, yeah, because he was, honestly, Black Belt was, well, I don't want to say he was supposed to be on here because that feels, I don't want to impose obligations on him because, like I said,
I also haven't watched Cowboy Bebop yet, and I need to watch it.
Oh shit! So you could probably just come in as someone who's only seen the live action version, a unique perspective.
I mean, I don't really want to. I do want to see the original series because I have Funimation and I need to use that freaking app instead of just. Shit. I mean, look, look. To make my friend Robbie happy, and I guess to make you happy as well, I finally started watching Naruto. Hey. That show is, it is a show.
It is a show.
It is a show. So instead, but outside of that, I've also been watching My Hero Academia and Tokyo Ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul is the fucking coolest. Everyone watch Tokyo Ghoul. It is absolutely my shit. I fucking love Tokyo Ghoul. It is weird as hell.
Oh yeah.
And also because I've been watching Naruto, I just want to say Kakashi is the best.
Oh, good. Undoubtedly.
He is the best. And I can't wait for Sakura to eventually get better writing. She is annoying me right now, and I know it's because the original creator has just said that he just didn't know how to write women. So yeah, I can't wait for her to be just a more well-written character.
All right. Well, to all of our listeners, to JD, and to Smoke, thank you for busting a line with us.